Chris Lewis. Chris, during your tenure as Commissioner of the Ontario Provincial Police, of course, you would have seen similar cases to this. What struck you about that RCMP update yesterday and what they had to say? Was there anything?
Yeah, absolutely there was, Todd. And I saw many searches throughout my career through all ranks across the broad expanse of Ontario. And many of them ended well and many of them didn't. This is a heartbreaker, absolutely. But what struck me the most, I think, is that I left it with a feeling that the RCMP know more than they're telling us. And I get that. You can't tell the public everything. And the detective staff sergeant, I believe, a major crime fellow, said it very well. I just can't tell you certain things right now. Well, if there's certain things you can't tell, then ultimately there's leads they're following up, in my view.
Okay.
Who, when, where, and why is another issue, but they're on to something.
We heard they don't think the siblings could be alive. Was that something of a surprising admission?
It was an absolute shock to me, to be honest, because I'm thinking after 5-6 days, there's a good chance they're still alive. The weather hasn't been that bad. I've seen searches where people have been 2 weeks in the bush under horrendous conditions. One man was legally blind and still alive. So you just never give up. So to make that statement also makes me think that they're suspecting something more than a couple of children lost in the bush.
Okay. The RCMP said there are spots they want to revisit. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me there, obviously, as they said, there's places they want to research. So, but where are those places? Are they within the area they search? So are they going back to some specific dense areas to have an even closer look? Because, quite frankly, in dense bush, you could walk by a child and not see them. And that's a sad reality of it all. So is that the plan, or are there other locations that they want to search within some other area, but not kind of an expanded search through that dense bush?
We heard that major crimes is involved. Should that tell us anything, or is that sort of de rigueur?
I think it's standard that investigators be involved in parallel with any search, particularly of children, not a lost hunter, but 2 children that shouldn't be in the bush. There'd be a search or investigation to say, was there some neglectful thing? I'm not suggesting there was. How did 2 little children get into the bush? Or was it something else? Was there a crime involved? Were they taken by somebody known or unknown? Et cetera. And there's all kinds of terrible possibilities that come to mind here. But obviously, major crime is there. They've had the big gun there, not a constable, detective, and a detachment. And so they're onto something here.
On that point, the stepfather has told us he suspects they might have been abducted. Does that trigger anything at the police level? How do they react to a statement like that?
Well, I mean, yeah, they'd be on it absolutely, because why do you think that? Who do you think did it? Who had a reason to do it? What makes you say that? Because at that point, as a father or stepfather or mother, you'd be thinking, oh my God, we have to find them. Where are they? Not suddenly out of the blue, oh, I think somebody abducted them. I mean, that's kind of a bizarre statement. But people are people, and they do and say different things when they're under stress. So, it's certainly a red flag, but ultimately, what does that mean in the big scheme of things? Who knows at this point?
Yeah. We heard police say they don't think the children could have gone too far, certainly not beyond that search area.
And my thoughts there, Todd, are that these are trained searchers in physical shape and proper equipment and clothing on, and they struggled to get to a certain point over a number of days. So in their minds, at the very least, they're thinking those kids could not have got further than point X. So we're going to go back and research. But then again, of course, there's the investigative piece, and we don't know where all that's going. But there's more to come in the next few days, I believe.
Public safety analyst for CTV, Chris Lewis, always good to have your insight on these kind of things. We appreciate it.
You too, Todd. Always my pleasure.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with much more of your 6 o'clock news.